Hey guys! Did you know it was me? Don't be alarmed. I'm actually really safe here in this bee's hive. They don't even seem to mind that I'm here because they're so busy doing their jobs. Worker bees are incredibly busy all day long, so they don't seem to mind that I'm here. And if I don't bother them, they probably won't bother me. So it'll give me time to read you this really cool book, Bees. Last week, we did a book called We Need Insects, and it was pretty fascinating. We really do need insects, especially beneficial insects. And remember, beneficial means important or good and helpful. And a honeybee and bees in general are pretty vital or important to the environment and to us as humans when it comes down to it, because they make it possible for new plants to grow, new fruits and vegetables, not new fruits and vegetables, but new plants of the fruits and vegetables to grow. And that's obviously really, really important for us as humans because those are things we eat and things that we need. So let's spend a few minutes learning more about fascinating bees. And I promise to get out of here if anybody starts to sting me. But I'm not too worried because it turns out if I don't bother them, they probably won't bother me. All right, let's get started. Oh, what was that? Oh, I thought I heard another bee buzzing on my shoulder. Ugh, keep a lookout just in case one starts crawling on me, okay? Thanks. Outside the sun is shining, the flowers are blooming, and the bees are buzzing. When some people see bees, they run, kind of like we do on the playground when they're all over the monkey bars. Others might not notice the bees at all. But let's stop and take a closer look. Bees are helpful or beneficial. Our world needs bees. Bees help people and plants. Honeybees make honey and beeswax. People use these things in lots of different ways. They make candles, honey to eat. All kinds of bees help plants make seeds. And this is really, really important, guys. Seeds can grow into new plants. We all know that. Some of those plants give us fruits and vegetables. We can thank bees for strawberries, my personal favorite, apples, almonds, tomatoes, and many other foods. Now, Mr. Bowman, his family owns an apple orchard up in Niagara County, so about an hour and a half away from here, and they rely heavily on bees because that's what helps their trees and their trees be pollinated so more and more apples will grow. Pollen power. Now, we've already learned a little bit about pollen. When a bee lands on a flower, the flower's pollen rubs off on the bee. Pollen sticks to the tiny hairs on the bee's body. And you can see this is a perfect picture of it. I also showed you guys a video this week of the bee that I found on my walk with Laura. And when he first landed on the flower, his body was just pretty much black, a little bit of yellow, and as soon as he started really digging down into that dandelion, all of a sudden his body turned yellow and looked a lot fluffier, and that was because the pollen was sticking to him. When the bee travels to another flower, pollen from the bee brushes off onto the new flower. This is called pollination, and this is the process that we need to continue to have happen. Now the new flower can start to make seeds. A bee's leg has special hairs that form a basket. The bee brushes pollen into the basket. Then it flies back to the nest. The pollen is used as food for baby bees. So pollen actually has a few different uses, some for us and some for their babies. So here are the baskets that form, and that's where they collect the pollen. It's kind of like a backpack or a little purse or a satchel, and they help it bring it back to the hive. It says these baskets are filled with pollen. Only female bees have these pollen baskets. So only the girl bees have the baskets. They're kind of the collectors of pollen. And there's an empty pollen basket. So that's what it looks like here after all the pollen has been emptied out. Bees collect nectar from flowers too, and we talked about that. That's that sweet juice inside of the flower. They drink nectar with their tongues. Some bees make honey out of nectar. These bees are called honeybees. So only honeybees actually make honey out of nectar. Sometimes you might see different kind of bees and their job is not to make honey for us. But here, I'll get a close-up shot. Look at his tongue. Incredible. So long. 7 cool facts about bees. I don't want to skip these pages because I just think these are so interesting. Number 1, the garden bumblebee has a tongue that is as long as its body. Can you imagine that if your tongue was as long as your body? Number 2, humans collected honey from bees as early as 6,000 BC. That's a really long time ago. Number 3, bees have 4 wings. 4 wings. 2 large wings and 2 small wings. I'm curious. I wonder if the large wings and small wings have different purposes, different uses. I don't know. Number 4, I like this fact. Bees can see colors. So just like you and I, they can see different colors. Fascinating. I never really thought about that before. They are most likely to land on flowers that are blue, my favorite color, purple, or yellow. So if you wanted to attract bees around your house to help pollinate the flowers, or if you have a garden, then you might want to plant blue, purple, or yellow flowers. Number 5, farmers often hire beekeepers to bring bees to their fields. The bees pollinate the farmer's crops. And I think Mr. Bowman's family has done that in the past. Honeybees do a dance called the waggle. That's a pretty funny name for a dance. Scientists think that the dance shows other bees in the hive where the best nectar is. It's kind of like a signal to say, hey guys, come over here. Some really good nectar over here. About 1/3 of the food on our planet grows because of bees' pollination. 1/3. 33%. Think about when you guys were doing fractions with Mrs. Ferreira. When you drew a circle and you divided it into 3 equal parts and then shaded in or colored in one of those parts. It's a pretty significant amount. It's pretty fascinating, and that's a really good example of how important bees are. It's easy to mistake other insects for bees. They often look alike, but there are ways to tell them apart. Take a closer look at a bee and a yellow jacket wasp, which is not a bee. Do you see what's different? It's going to be a little tricky because of the way I'm filming. So when you are observing these 2 pictures, what do you see right away? What jumps out at you? For me, it's definitely their bodies. The bee looks a little hairier than the wasp, for sure. Also, the formation of their eyes and the fact that the bee has pollen baskets, so that must be a female bee, we know. What things do you guys notice? You always end up seeing way more than I do. You guys are so amazing. You're like bee detectives. Ooh, this is pretty cool because you know I love talking about the species when it comes to animal groups. There are about 20,000 kinds of bees living on Earth. What? All bees are either solitary bees or social bees. So there's 2 categories of bees, solitary or social. A solitary bee makes a nest for its young, and the nest is inside a hole either in the ground, in wood, in walls, or even in plant stems. Solitary bees collect pollen, but they do not make honey or beeswax. Now the word solitary, I want you to think if you've ever heard that word before. Solitary. And think on it for a minute and think if anything comes to mind about the definition. Well, solitary bees live alone. They like to be by themselves. They kind of are just like, hey, I don't really want to be around anyone else. It's just me kind of thing. Okay? And social bees are the bees that like to live in a group. Kind of like our class, right? We're social. We all like to be together most of the time. Most of the time. Every now and then we all need a little break. But for the most part, we would be considered social bees. If you like to be alone, you're a solitary bee. Social bees live with many other bees. A group of social bees is called a colony. A colony of bees lives in a hive. Honeybees are one kind of social bee. As many as 50,000 honeybees may live in one hive at a time. Wow, holy cow, that's crazy. That's a lot of bees. Bees care for their young there, and they make and store honey in the hive too. So a lot's going on in a hive. It's a really, really busy place, kind of what's taking place behind me. See, they're still ignoring me because they have so much work to do. Home sweet home. Inside the hive, honeybees build with beeswax. The bees mold the wax into 6-sided shapes called cells. Lots of cells together make up a honeycomb. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that makes me think of honeycomb cereal. And we actually have some in my cupboard right now. If we were at school, for sure I'd be bringing it in to share with you. But I can tell why it's called honeycomb cereal because each piece actually does look like a cell in the hive. The bees put nectar from flowers into some of the cells. And as the nectar gets thicker, it turns into honey. Bees eat honey for food. And so do people. We actually had honey in our corn muffins at one point. Do you guys remember when Mrs. Ferrer brought those in? Oh, they were so delicious. Other cells in the hive hold bee eggs. There is one egg in each cell. The eggs hatch and the young bees grow and change. After 21 to 24 days, the young bees become adults. So it takes about 3 weeks for a bee after it's born to make it to its adult form. All right, so they go through a little bit of a metamorphosis, which is a change or to transform. Okay, and so here's a close-up picture. I'll show you that. It's pretty cool. I know it's a little hard to see. And then down here is the actual cycle, the transformation. So the size when it's born into how it changes into adult form. So when it's born, it doesn't look like it would when it becomes an adult. When we're born, we're just little mini versions of ourselves as we get older. We kind of stretch out over time, but when we're born, we still look like a human. But when bees are born, not so much. Same thing with amphibians. Insects and amphibians go through metamorphosis. Busy as a bee. Every honeybee in the colony has a special job. These jobs keep the colony healthy and strong. There is only one queen bee. Well, of course, you can only have one queen. And she is bigger than all the other bees. She lays all of the eggs. Are you ready for this? Up to 1,500 eggs in a day. Wow. These numbers are staggering. They're amazing. There are 2 other kinds of bees in the colony as well. Drone bees are the male bees. Their job is to help the queen make eggs. Isn't it weird how those words are disappearing on this page? It's got a little bit of a magic trick I've thrown in there for you guys today. Worker bees have many jobs. These females feed the queen and care for their young. So there's drone bees and worker bees. The worker bees build the hive and make the honey. On long flying trips, they collect pollen and nectar. You'll remember those female bees are the ones with the pollen baskets on their legs. They also guard the hive against enemies. Whew, that's a lot of work in one day and all over time. They must be exhausted by the time it's nighttime. Man, if I was a worker bee, I'd definitely need a nap. Some humans build honeybee hives out of wooden boxes. Beekeepers take care of the hives and collect the honey. So there are actually people who want to have bees come to them. Remember, farmers do for sure. And if you have a garden, you definitely want bees around. Beekeepers are also check the bee colonies to make sure they are healthy. And beekeepers know how important bees are to our world. So that's the end of our book about bees. There's a cool little quiz in the back. So I think I'm going to keep those questions kind of secret, and I might put them on our Jeopardy game next week. But I want you to be aware, okay? And this is how you can take care of yourself around bees, just like I am right now with all these bees buzzing around behind me. Here are some tips for staying safe. Move slowly. Don't wave your arms or jump around. If a bee thinks it's being attacked, it might sting you. If a bee comes near you, stand still or walk slowly away. Don't run and scream. Do not swat at a bee. Let it fly away on its own. And don't disturb any bee nest or honeybee hive. Like if you see a nest or a hive, don't go poking at it with a stick because you'll be asking for trouble. If you are stung by a bee, just put ice on it. The pain will go away soon enough. And if you leave bees alone, they will probably leave you alone. And that's it. That's it for bees today, guys. If you want to learn more, let me know, because I've got other books as well. But I hope you enjoyed learning about bees and really understand now why it's so important that we help protect them. All right, we'll see you next time. All right, science lovers, here's your homework for this week. You need to answer 3 or more of these questions. I know some of you will answer all of them because you're absolutely amazing, but you don't have to. 3 is what I would like for sure. And you can do that in writing. You can record yourself doing that, or you could video record yourself answering these questions and send that in. You'll kind of be like an investigative bee reporter, which I think would be super cool and super fun. But it's totally up to you. Whatever you want to do is what works for me, as long as you do your homework. So for those of you who have been doing your homework all along, awesome job. Keep it up. You're doing amazing and you're learning great new things and you're going to be ready for 3rd grade. If you haven't been doing your homework, now's the perfect time to start. And don't forget, you can always go back and watch other videos that we've done and still submit your homework for points. All right, so try to get on that if you haven't been doing your homework. All right, so let's get started. You know Mrs. Bowman loves the who, what, where, why, when, and how questions. So that's what homework is for this week. So we're going to talk about the who. So you can answer this question in your homework assignment if you choose to. Who can help save the bees? Who could build honeybee hives in order to attract more bees to where they live? Who? Next question. What? I want to make sure you guys can see it because it's pretty sunny out today. What? What products do bees provide for us? What do they make that we as humans use? Another what question could be, what color flowers would you want to plant near your home or your garden, or if you own a farm, near your orchard, in order to attract more bees? What color flowers would you want to plant? Remember, bees can see color, which I thought was pretty fascinating actually. And the last question in the what category is, what can each of us do to help protect the population of bees? That's a really important question. What? All right, let's see what's next. Where? Where do bees like to create their hives? So if you were out walking, where might you be likely to find a beehive? Next question, why? Why is it so important that we save the bees? Why? This is a big one. This is what I hope you actually took away from the book that we read, because this actually is, I think, the most important question. So I hope you know the answer to this one. Why? What's next? When? When is the right time to start saving the bees? When? When is the right time to start saving the bees? I've got my watch on. It's 9:33. 9:33 might be the time for me to start saving the bees. How? How do bees make honey? What's the process? What are the steps they take in order to make honey for not only themselves, but for us too? How? So your homework is to answer 3 or more of those questions. And again, just take a picture if you write it down or send me the video. And the other thing I love about this, guys, if you can answer all of those questions, it kind of makes you a little bit of a bee expert. And that means you become a teacher. With any of the lessons that we do, if you can answer those questions, it means that you've learned enough to go on and teach somebody else. And that makes you pretty amazing. So if you've learned a lot about bees, share that information with someone else, and you'll be amazed at how amazed they are of you, because you're awesome. All right, I can't wait to see your homework, guys. I hope you have an awesome weekend, because it's Thursday and we don't have Zoom tomorrow. But I will see you today at 1 o'clock for share time. See ya. Mwah.